Hello and welcome back to week 2, lesson 3 of the 4-week intensive confidence currency course. I'm Tiffany, the creator of the course, and I am excited because today is the day that you get to actually take some steps into making real victory and progress. Now, you've already been taking steps in the fact that you've been evaluating, where have you been in your history and where are you today? But today, I'm going to actually begin to show you what to do with what you've learned and what you've begun to understand about where you've been and where you are today. Now, over the last week and a half, you've been looking at what are some of the beliefs and behaviors that you are encountering that are determining what you're experiencing. At the beginning of this course, I told you that it is impossible for someone to continually behave in a way that is inconsistent with what they believe, right? So basically, in short, your beliefs are going to determine your actions. So we can, zero in on an action of understanding, hey, I tend to binge on desserts. That's an action and I don't like it. And so I'm going to decide that I'm going to not binge on dessert anymore. And if I'm feeling hungry, I'm going to eat fruit. And that's a great goal. That's a great plan. But if we haven't actually addressed what are the beliefs behind, why you're binging on dessert, then it's only a matter of time before you go back to binging on dessert. But awareness of what your beliefs are or awareness of what your behaviors are isn't enough. It's good, it's necessary. You need to be aware of what are you doing that's not working for you and what are the beliefs that you have that are informing those behaviors. But that's not enough. That kind of still leaves you with maybe a better read on the situation, but still nowhere to go from there. And so today I'm going to be sharing with you what to do now that you understand the beliefs that you've been bringing with you from your past attempts at making healthy changes and various experiences in your life, and what to do with the newfound information that you have regarding your history, regarding your present, so that you can take a different direction in the future. Now, I want to maybe preface this by saying I think that perhaps what I share with you might almost come across as a little bit too simple, or is this really going to work? Like, it can't really be that easy. And I just want to remind you, I'm not trying to brag, but I'm just giving you an honest answer of, 10 years ago, I lost 212 pounds and I've been able to, maintain a healthy weight since. I've encountered so many ups and downs through life of adoptions and marriage. And then whenever I had 2 babies back to back, I was left with like 40 pounds that I needed to lose. That was about a year and a half ago now, and I've been able to lose it. So I have discovered, this principle that I'm going to be sharing with you today. And I don't want you to think that it's just, oh man, this is all just like mumbo jumbo head knowledge. This is stuff that I have put into practice in my life, and I've seen it make all of the difference. So really take it to heart. Listen closely, make sure you're referring and have printed out your coursework, because what you're going to receive today is going to be something that you're going to continue to put into practice throughout this intensive and throughout the rest of your life as you walk toward your health goals. All right, so here we go. You're going to see in your coursework today that you're going to have a place where you can write down and identify 6 of the false beliefs that you have had about yourself in terms of your capability to reach your health goals. Now, these are going to come from your experiences, both from digging into your history and digging into your current experience. What are some of those beliefs that you identified that you had, 6 at minimum, that have come from your experience? Maybe you have the false belief that you're just not disciplined, or that you just don't exercise, or that you can't exercise, or that you just don't like to cook or can't cook. What are those things? What are those beliefs that you really have been, working with from your history, from your present? So write those down, at least 6 of these false beliefs or fallacies. Then under that, you're going to write what corresponding behaviors have each of those beliefs resulted in. So, maybe the fact that you were undisciplined and you've been believing that you're not a disciplined person has been leading to you just binge eating or eating whatever you want. Or maybe the fact that you believe that you're just not good at exercising has caused you to become incredibly lazy and spend most of your evenings just being totally lethargic on the couch, right? So take the time to identify, what are 6 of these things that I have been believing that are false beliefs, and what are the resulting behaviors that those beliefs have resulted in? And then after you do that, I want you to take a moment and I want you to pause and decide, are you going to continue to believe those things? Now you might be thinking, what do you mean am I going to continue to believe those things? Like, these things are reality, they're truth, right? I feel that I don't like exercise and so I'm lazy and that's just the truth. But it's actually not, right? Do you know that you actually get to decide what you believe? Now, you may feel that your past experience supports that belief, but that belief is just from a fixed point in time, right? Like, if you get pulled over and you get a speeding ticket from a police officer, you could choose in that moment to forevermore believe that you are just a bad driver, that you are a speeder and this is just who you are. And so you continue to make the choice to speed. Or you can say, hey, I did do that in that moment. That is true, that I did speed, that I did get a speeding ticket, but you get to decide if you say, but that was just a point in time. I was being careless, reckless, I was late, whatever. You get to decide how you interpret that situation, what you choose to believe from that situation, and that determines how you continue to move forward. So you actually get to decide what you believe about things. Let me give you another example. Let's say you had to do a public speaking in some way, shape, or form, and you got sweaty and you mumbled through it and all of that. You can walk away saying, that was horrible, I'm just a bad public speaker, and you just shy away at any future opportunity to speak publicly, which is a lot of people's experience. Or you could say, that was that one time, but I've had other times where I've spoken publicly and it's been fine. You get to decide what you believe about a situation. Maybe you had a friend in life and you made a bad character decision and you should have totally seen that that friend or boyfriend or girlfriend, was a total loser, but you made the wrong choice. You didn't see their flaws, but you learned afterwards. You don't just necessarily say, well, I'm just a horrible judge of character, I could never again decide if someone is a good or bad person to have in my life. No, you'd say, I made a bad choice. I'm going to learn from that choice, and I'm going to believe in the future that I have a lot to offer and that I am smart and that I can make good decisions. And we need to implement this exact same line of thinking with your ability to reach your health goals. But that first starts with identifying, what are these beliefs that have been driving me, right? And what are the behaviors that they've been resulting in? And then just deciding, am I going to continue to believe this or not? Because you actually get the choice. And yes, maybe your history and your present is supporting that those beliefs are true, but that's just for now. You have the opportunity and you have the power to believe something different about yourself and to make a different change. And as you continue to do these small things that we're going to be doing, like tracking your food for 3 days, you're going to begin to get some confidence currency, which is going to begin to be a resource for you in terms of you believing that you actually are a competent, capable person. So I want you to look at those beliefs. I want you to look at those resulting behaviors and right now decide, are you going to continue to believe them or not? Are you going to accept them as fact in your life? Because if you are, you should probably just quit this intensive now. Or are you going to say, you know what? I recognize that these things happened, like that speeding ticket. I recognize that they, were definitely a result of choices that I made, but I'm not bound by them. I'm not bound to repeat them for the rest of my life. So that's incredibly important to decide. Are you going to continue to accept these things as truth or are you not? Okay, here's what I'd like you to do now. Go back to your confidence currency ledger that you found in your coursework. And I want you to take a moment and actually think about, what are some things in your life, your history, your present, that really you're proud of, that show you that you're a competent, capable person? Because I want you to have some confidence currency to begin to work with, because truthfully, you do already have some in your account. You might not have confidence currency in your account that's in relation to your ability to eat healthily or exercise. You will. but you do have confidence currency in your account somewhere that proves to you that you can do hard things, that proves to you that you are a capable, dedicated person. So maybe it's that, you graduated college while you also had to work full time. Maybe it's that you're a single parent and you take care of your children every single day. Or maybe it's that you're a parent to a toddler and somehow you make it through every day without, killing them or throwing your head through a wall. Maybe you have taken care of an ill parent, or, there's so many different things. I want you to identify what are 2 or 3 things in your life that you are really proud of and that honestly prove that you are a person of real grit and that you can get the job done, that you are dependable. And I want you to write it on that confidence currency ledger. So pause now, take the time to do that, because that's going to be really important as you continue to walk out this journey. So then, after that, I want you to go back to where you were writing the false beliefs and the resulting behaviors. And I want you to look at those one by one, and then I want you to decide what is the truth that you're going to choose to believe in that instance. Because remember I said, you get to choose what you believe. So let's say the false belief was, I just don't have any self-discipline. And the resulting behavior was, if I want to eat it, then I eat it. That's the resulting behavior of the false belief that I don't have any discipline. And then I want you, like we've said, where you decide, I'm not going to believe that anymore, but now you need to decide, what are you going to believe? What is going to be truth for you? And I hope and believe that you can look back at some of that confidence currency that you wrote down, those times in your life where you've done hard things and you've showed true grit and say, you know what? I can make myself do things I don't want to do. Just because I have believed that I'm an undisciplined person, and just because I have then had the resulting behavior of eating whatever I want, I'm now going to choose to believe that I actually have the power to make myself do things I don't want to do. I can say no to myself because I've said no to myself when I didn't want to go to work, when I didn't want to get my kid up from their nap, right? When I didn't want to clean the house, when I didn't want to do my schoolwork. I have done things in the past that have evidenced that I can do hard things. And then I want you to write that truth down. And then I want you to look back at, these things and really have a moment where you say, I'm going to disown these lies. Maybe you need to write these lies down on a piece of paper and literally burn them, but you need to have a moment where you say, I'm breaking agreement with these things. These things are not who I am. Yes, they have been what I've done. They've been what I've believed in the past, but they're not what I'm going to continue to believe. Burn them, write them down, scratch them out. Don't burn your coursework, you're gonna need that. But do it somewhere else and just come to this mental place where you say, okay, I'm not going to believe this anymore. I'm not going to believe anymore that I can't exercise. I'm not going to believe anymore that I just like sweets too much and can't say no. I am disowning that. I'm disbelieving that. And then literally take a moment where you say, you look at the truth that you've decided that you are going to believe is true and say, I'm choosing to believe this. This is where I'm going to be putting my stock. This is where I'm putting my faith. This is where I'm going to anchor my reality to this truth. Now, I know that this might sound like mumbo jumbo, but I promise you, this is like the missing link that so many people need. Their mind is just tripping them up. They can't get their engine right. And so they continue to just go back and repeat the same old behaviors over and over and over again because their beliefs haven't changed. So if you're going to have a change of behavior that's going to lead to a change of your experience, you've got to change your beliefs. And that comes from doing the hard work of saying, I'm not going to believe this anymore. This is what I've been believing. And now I'm going to begin to believe this. And as you start to have more and more experiences where you actually get to see you are a dependable person, you are in control of your decisions, you can tell yourself no, you are able to do the things that you want to do, you're going to begin to get confidence currency that's going to begin to support those truths. And you're not going to have to totally go by faith anymore or just by looking at those, 2 or 3 things that you have in your confidence currency ledger. Perhaps you're wondering, does this really work? I promise you, it does. This is what I call my I.I.D. system. You're going to use this all throughout the intensive and long after you've finished, as you're walking successfully into your health goals. I.I.D.D for short, I say, let's ID it. But this is what it stands for. You isolate the behavior, identify the belief, disown the fallacy, and decide what is true over and over again. Now, let me tell you what this looks like in my life. And this is what you've been doing as I've been walking you through figuring out what are the beliefs that you've been having, what are the resulting behaviors, and what is the truth. This is what it looks like in my life. I'll give you an example. Often, all week long would be, going full steam ahead, just really hard, right? I have 2 toddlers, I homeschool my older 2 kids, and Friday night would come, and a lot of times my husband would be like, let's order pizza, and there's popcorn, and there's candy, and there's all sorts of stuff happening. And in my head, I will have been like, you know what? I have earned it. I've been at the gym. I've made so many good decisions this week. And then I will say, yeah, let's get some chips and dip too. And then before I know it, we're sitting there watching the movie. I've had 4 slices of pizza and 2 servings of chips and dip and ice cream and cookies. And this happened again and again and again. And I would find myself so frustrated and feeling so defeated because I'd had such a good week. But then every Friday evening, this would happen. And then I learned to ID that situation, right? So first, I isolated the behavior and said, okay, what exactly happened here? The behavior was that I chose to eat a bunch of pizza and a bunch of stuff that wasn't good for me. I isolate what exactly happened here. What was the behavior? Making these unhealthy food decisions, right? I'm not talking about myself as a loser or anything else. Just isolate the behavior. I made these unhealthy food decisions of ice cream and pizza and uninhibited, gorging myself, right? After isolating the behavior, then identifying the belief. What belief did I really have in that moment that caused me to make those decisions, that caused me to exhibit that behavior? And the belief really was, Tiffany, you've earned this and you need this. Like, this is gonna make you feel so much better. You've had such a hard week, and if you just have this ice cream and these chips and this pizza, you're gonna feel so much better. If you say no to this, man, that's just like too much. You've done too much hard stuff this week. You need this. This is gonna make you feel so much better. And saying no to this is just gonna be too much. It's too hard. That's the belief that's there. That's the belief that's underlying what that behavior is that I'm actually doing. And so I've got to come to a moment where I say, do I actually believe that? Right? Do I actually believe that this food is going to make me feel better? That when I wake up tomorrow morning, that I'm going to be like, wow, I feel so much better because I ate all that pizza and ice cream. No, I know that that's not actually true. I know that that's actually a lie because it's happened to me time and time again where I've waken up the next day or even as I'm going to bed that night thinking, you did it again. You did it again. And I don't feel better and I don't feel more relaxed, even though in that moment when I'm eating it, I do, or when I make the decision to indulge, I do. But the reality is it's not true at all. That belief isn't true at all. So then I have to have the moment where I disown that fallacy, where I disown that belief and I say, I'm not going to believe that anymore. I'm not going to believe that eating that pizza is actually going to make me feel relaxed, or that eating the chips and dip, eating the ice cream, it's not actually going to make me feel good about myself. It's actually going to make me feel worse about myself because I'm going to wake up feeling like I've got to dig myself out of this hole. And I'm going to disown that fallacy. I'm not going to believe that anymore. I'm going to recognize it as a false belief. And then I get to decide what's true. In that moment, I get to say, what's true is that I have been kicking butt this week. I've been to the gym. I've been making right decisions. I've turned down, many things that maybe weren't good for me. And what's true is that I can enjoy this component. I can enjoy sitting down with my family and maybe eating a little bit of a healthier alternative snack. And we'll talk about things like this in next week's course. But saying, I'm going to believe that it's not true that this food is going to make me feel better. I'm going to believe that I actually have the power over my choices and that I am strong enough to say no because I want to say no, because I want to reach my health goals. Eating these things are not going to lead me to where I'm wanting to go. And I'm going to believe the truth that I'm capable of saying no to this and I'm capable of making decisions that I can be proud of. So this is how you ID situations. And we're going to continue to talk about this in week 4. But today, take the time to figure out, what are these false beliefs that you've been believing that have been informing your behaviors? What have the resulting behaviors been? What are you going to decide is true? And then disowning those false beliefs and saying, I'm going to choose to believe this. This is so, so valuable, friends. And I hope you've been able to see just through that small example of my Friday night, face down that I have all the time with these things of how this works, of just figuring out, this is a false belief. It's resulting in this behavior that's not getting me where I want to go. I'm disowning it. I'm not going to do it anymore. And this is where I'm going to go. And this is what I'm going to believe instead. This is the key. This is the gold that's going to get you to where you need to be. So take time today and really hash it out. Do not move on to week 3 until you've taken the time to do this. I want your confidence currency ledger to be out of the negative. We want to be totally done with the bad of your history, totally done with the bad of your present, and in a place where you say, my confidence currency ledger, it has a little bit in it. It doesn't have a lot, but it has a little bit in it because I've identified what are the things that I'm proud of, and you have been keeping track of what have you been eating calorically for 3 days, and you can only go up from here. So we're going to continue to be IDing things, our behaviors, our beliefs, and you are going to continue to walk forward and getting closer and closer to your goals. So this is the end of week 2. At this point, you have a clear idea of where you've been. You have a clear idea of where you are now. And as we move into week 3, we're going to begin to plan and prepare you to begin to walk into the life that you can live, that you have the ability to live. And your confidence currency ledger is about to get really, really full. I'm excited for you. I'm proud of you. Take the time to do the hard work because it is going to pay off. You're doing this the right way this time, friends.